Dr. Lee Hanna pulled her jacket tighter as the cold morning wind swept across the research station. Kepler 442b was not like Earth. The sky was always purple here, and two small suns hung in the distance like orange marbles. She had been on this planet for 6 months now, studying the strange creatures that lived in its crystal caves. The research station was small. Only 3 people lived there. Hanna was the team leader and a scientist who studied alien animals. Dr. Park Ji-ho was older and grumpier. He used to work for the military before becoming a scientist. The third person was Kim Nari, a young woman who handled all their radio calls and computer systems. Today felt different. Hanna could not explain why, but something in the air made her feel nervous and excited at the same time. She grabbed her equipment bag and walked toward the cave entrance where they did most of their work. The caves on this planet were amazing. The walls were made of clear blue crystal that glowed softly in the dark. Strange plants grew from the crystal surfaces and small flying creatures lived in the deeper tunnels. Hanna loved exploring these caves. Each day brought new discoveries. Park Ji-ho was already waiting at the cave entrance, checking his scanner device. He looked up when Hanna approached and shook his head. "I still think this is dangerous," he said in his rough voice. "We do not know what lies deep in these caves. Command told us to be careful." Hanna smiled. Ji-ho always worried about safety. That was his job, but sometimes he worried too much. "We have been here 6 months," she replied. "Nothing has hurt us yet. The creatures here seem peaceful." Nari joined them a few minutes later, carrying the communication equipment. She was young and always cheerful even when the work was hard. "Any messages from Earth today?" Hanna asked. "Just the usual reports," Nari answered. "Command wants our weekly research update. Oh, and they said something about increased military activity near the outer colonies. Nothing for us to worry about, though." The 3 of them entered the cave system. Their lights bounced off the crystal walls, creating rainbow patterns that danced around them. They had mapped most of the upper tunnels, but today they planned to explore deeper areas. After walking for an hour, they reached a section they had never seen before. The tunnel split into 3 paths. Hanna chose the middle path because it seemed to glow brighter than the others. "This is new," she whispered, looking at her scanner. "The readings are different here. There might be new species down this way." They walked carefully through the narrow tunnel. The crystal formations here were older and more complex. Some looked like frozen trees made of glass. Others looked like flowers that never bloomed. Suddenly, Hanna heard a soft sound. It was like a small animal crying. She stopped and held up her hand to signal the others to be quiet. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. Park Ji-ho frowned and checked his motion detector. "I am not picking up any movement. Are you sure you heard something?" The sound came again. It was definitely an animal in distress. Hanna followed the sound deeper into the tunnel, leaving the others behind. She knew Ji-ho would be angry about her breaking safety rules, but she could not ignore an animal that might need help. The tunnel opened into a small chamber, filled with broken crystal pieces. In the center of the room, next to a pile of glowing rocks, Hanna saw something that made her heart skip. A small creature was lying on its side, barely moving. It had silver fur that seemed to shimmer in the cave light. It was about the size of a house cat, but looked different from any animal Hanna had ever seen. Its ears were larger and more pointed. Its tail was long and thin, but what caught her attention most were its eyes. They were large and intelligent, looking directly at her with what seemed like understanding. The creature was clearly hurt. One of its legs was twisted at a strange angle and it looked very thin and weak. When it saw Hanna, it made that soft crying sound again. "Oh, you poor little thing," Hanna said quietly, slowly approaching the animal. "What happened to you?" Park, Ji-ho and Nari caught up with her and saw the creature. "Hanna, step away from it," Ji-ho said firmly. "We do not know if it is dangerous or if it carries diseases." But Hanna was already kneeling next to the animal. Up close, she could see that it was breathing quickly and seemed very scared. Its silver fur was matted and dirty. Despite its condition, something about the creature seemed special. Its eyes held an intelligence that reminded her of dolphins or elephants on Earth. "It is hurt and starving," she said. "We cannot just leave it here." "Protocol says we observe and document," Jiho replied. "We do not interfere with native species." "This is not interference," Hana argued. "This is rescue. Look at it. It will die if we leave it here." The creature seemed to understand their conversation. It lifted its head slightly and looked directly at Hana. Then it did something amazing. It reached out one small paw toward her hand. That simple gesture changed everything for Hana. She could not explain it, but she felt an immediate connection to this animal. Without thinking about protocols or safety rules, she gently picked up the creature. It was surprisingly light and felt warm against her arms. Instead of struggling or trying to bite, the animal seemed to relax when she held it. "I am taking it back to the station," she announced. "Hana, this is against every safety regulation we have," Jiho protested. "We need to study it first, run tests, make sure it is not carrying alien viruses or parasites." "We can do all of that at the station," Hana said firmly. "But first we need to help it recover." Nari looked at the creature in Hana's arms. "It is kind of cute," she admitted, "and it does look very sick." The walk back to the research station seemed longer than usual. Hana carried the creature carefully, talking to it in a soft voice. She told it about Earth, about her work, about anything she could think of to keep it calm. The animal seemed to listen, turning its large eyes toward her face whenever she spoke. At the station, Hana set up a comfortable area for the creature in her laboratory. She gave it water and some of the synthetic protein they used for emergency rations. To her surprise, the animal ate eagerly and seemed to understand that she was trying to help. Over the next few hours, Hana examined the creature as gently as possible. Its injured leg was not broken, just badly sprained. She treated it with basic medical supplies and wrapped it carefully. The animal stayed calm during the entire process, as if it trusted her completely. By evening, the creature was looking much better. It was clean, fed, and resting comfortably. Hana sat nearby, writing notes about her discovery. She needed to think of a name for her new patient. The animal looked up at her and made a soft, friendly sound. It almost seemed like it was trying to communicate. "You are a friendly little guy, are you not?" Hana said with a smile. "I think I will call you Buddy. You seem like a buddy to me." When she said the name, the creature's ears perked up and it made that soft sound again. From that moment on, Hana knew that Buddy was special. She had no idea just how special he really was, or how much this discovery would change everything she thought she knew about the galaxy and humanity's place in it. Outside the research station, the two suns were setting, painting the purple sky in shades of gold and red. In the distance, beyond the planet's atmosphere, ships moved through space on missions that would soon bring danger to this peaceful world. But for now, in the quiet laboratory, a human scientist and a mysterious creature were forming a bond that would prove stronger than anything the galaxy could throw at them. 3 weeks had passed since Hana found Buddy in the crystal caves. The small creature had recovered quickly from his injuries. His silver fur now shined brightly, and he moved around the research station with surprising grace. What amazed Hana most was how smart Buddy seemed to be. Every morning, Buddy would wait by her bed until she woke up. He would follow her to the laboratory and sit quietly while she worked. When she spoke to him, he would tilt his head and make soft sounds as if he understood every word. Sometimes Hana felt like he was actually answering her questions. "Good morning, Buddy," Hana said as she entered the lab. The creature immediately ran to her and rubbed against her legs like a friendly cat. "Ready for another day of work?" Park Jiho walked into the lab carrying his scanning equipment. He still did not trust Buddy completely, but he had stopped complaining about the animal being in the station. "I need to run more tests on your pet," Jiho said, setting up his scanner. "The readings I am getting do not make sense." Over the past few weeks, Jiho had tried many times to properly scan Buddy. Every test gave strange results. The creature's DNA did not match anything in their database of known alien species. His bone structure was unlike any animal they had studied. Even his blood chemistry was unusual. What kind of readings? Hana asked, picking up Buddy and placing him on the examination table. His brain activity is too high for an animal his size, Jiho explained. And look at this muscle density. Scan. He should be much stronger than he appears to be. Buddy sat perfectly still during the examination, but Hana noticed his eyes were always watching Jiho's hands. When Jiho reached for a sedative injector, Buddy's whole body became tense. I think I need to sedate him for a deeper scan, Jiho said. Some of these tests require the subject to be completely still. The moment Jiho activated the sedative device, something incredible happened. Buddy moved faster than Hana's eyes could follow. 1 second he was sitting on the table. The next second he was across the room, perched on top of a tall equipment cabinet. The movement was so quick and fluid that it seemed impossible. How did he do that? Jiho stared at the empty examination table in shock. Buddy looked down at them from his high perch. He did not seem angry or scared. He just sat there calmly, as if nothing unusual had happened. After a few minutes, he jumped down and walked back to Hana, acting like his normal friendly self. I have never seen any animal move that fast, Jiho said quietly. That was not natural. Hana petted Buddy, feeling confused. Her gentle pet had just demonstrated abilities that seemed beyond what any normal animal should possess. But when she looked into his large, intelligent eyes, she still saw the same friendly creature she had rescued. Kim Nari entered the lab carrying a data pad with a worried expression on her face. I have been monitoring communication channels like Command asked us to, she said. I am picking up some strange signals. What kind of signals? Hana asked. Military frequencies, ships moving near our sector. And some of the messages mention human colonies. Nari sat down and showed them her data. I think there might be trouble coming. The messages Nari had intercepted were coded, but she had managed to decode some parts. They mentioned soft targets and testing human defenses. The signals were coming from Valish Empire ships. The Valish were a reptilian alien race that controlled a large part of the galaxy. They had never been friendly toward humans. Most alien races saw humans as newcomers who did not belong in their galaxy. The Valish were more hostile than most. Should we report this to Command? Nari asked. Not yet, Jiho said. We need more information first. Keep monitoring those signals. That afternoon, Hana decided to take Buddy outside for some fresh air. The research station was surrounded by beautiful purple grasslands that stretched to the horizon. Buddy loved exploring the area around the station, but he never wandered far from Hana's side. As they walked through the grass, Hana noticed that Buddy's behavior was different today. He kept stopping and turning his head as if he was listening for something. His ears would twitch and he would look toward the sky with an intense expression. What is it, Buddy? Hana asked. Do you hear something? Suddenly, Buddy froze completely. His silver fur seemed to darken slightly and his whole body became perfectly still. Hana had never seen him act this way before. Then she heard it too. A low, rumbling sound coming from somewhere in the distance. It sounded like large animals moving through the grass. Hana felt a chill of fear. The planet was supposed to be safe, but they had not explored all of it yet. The rumbling got louder. Through the purple grass, Hana could see shapes moving toward them. Large, dark shapes that moved like predators hunting prey. We need to get back to the station, Hana whispered, backing away slowly, but it was too late. 5 enormous creatures emerged from the grass around them. They looked like bears, but much bigger and more dangerous. Their fur was black and matted, and their teeth were as long as knives. These were grim wolves, the apex predators of Kepler 442b. Hana had read about grim wolves in the planet survey reports, but she had never expected to encounter them so close to the research station. They were supposed to live in the deep wilderness far from human settlements. The grim wolves formed a circle around Hana and Buddy. They moved slowly, like hunters who knew their prey had nowhere to run. The largest one, probably the pack leader, stepped forward and growled. The sound was deep and terrifying. Hana felt paralyzed with fear. She had no weapons, no way to defend herself against these massive predators. She looked down at Buddy, expecting to see him cowering in terror, Instead, she saw something that would change everything she thought she knew about her gentle pet. Buddy was no longer the small, friendly creature she had rescued. His posture had changed completely. He stood between Hana and the Grimwolves with perfect confidence. His silver fur had darkened to almost black, and his eyes held a cold intelligence that made Hana's breath catch. The transformation was subtle, but complete. Buddy no longer looked like a helpless animal. He looked like something far more dangerous. The largest Grimwolf snarled and charged forward. What happened next was impossible to fully understand. Buddy moved like liquid shadow, faster than Hana had ever seen any living thing move. He flowed around the attacking Grimwolf's claws and struck with surgical precision. The massive predator collapsed instantly, unconscious but not dead. Buddy had somehow struck a nerve cluster that shut down the creature's motor functions without causing permanent harm. The other 4 Grimwolves attacked together, thinking they could overwhelm the small defender. They were wrong. Buddy became a blur of controlled motion. He seemed to be everywhere at once, always one step ahead of the snapping jaws and slashing claws. Each strike he made was perfect, targeting specific pressure points that dropped the massive predators without killing them. In less than 30 seconds, all 5 Grimwolves lay unconscious on the purple grass. Buddy stood among them, completely calm and uninjured. As Hana watched in amazement, his fur gradually lightened back to its normal silver color, and his posture returned to that of a friendly pet. He walked back to Hana and rubbed against her legs, making his usual soft, friendly sounds. It was as if nothing had happened. But everything had changed. Hana looked down at her companion with new eyes. What was Buddy? Where had he really come from? And how had a creature she found injured and helpless in a cave just demonstrated fighting, abilities that defied everything she knew about biology? As they walked back to the research station, Hana felt both grateful and deeply confused. Buddy had saved her life, but he had also revealed that he was something far more than what he appeared to be. Behind them, the 5 Grimwolves began to wake up. They looked around in confusion, then quickly retreated into the purple grass. Some instinct told them that the small silver creature was not prey to be hunted, but a predator to be feared. That night, Hana lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Buddy slept peacefully beside her. She had so many questions, but no answers. All she knew for certain was that her gentle pet was hiding secrets that might be more important than anything she had ever discovered in her scientific career. Outside the research station, the stars seemed brighter than usual. And somewhere, among those stars, Valish warships were moving closer to Kepler 442b, carrying soldiers who had no idea what they would soon face. 2 days after the Grimwolf encounter, everything changed for the research team on Kepler 442b. Kim Nari burst into the laboratory where Hana was studying plant samples, her face pale with worry. 3 Valish warships just dropped out of hyperspace, Nari announced breathlessly. They are heading straight for our planet. Park Jiho looked up from his equipment with a grim expression. How long until they arrive? 6 hours, maybe less, Nari replied, checking her datapad. They are moving fast and they are not responding to our standard greeting signals. Hana felt her stomach drop. The Valish Empire had a reputation for being aggressive toward human settlements. Their reptilian soldiers were known for their ruthlessness and their belief that humans did not belong in the galaxy. What do they want? She asked. Unknown, Nari said. But I intercepted part of a transmission. They mentioned something about illegal weapon testing and eliminating security threats. Buddy, who had been sleeping peacefully near Hana's workstation, suddenly lifted his head. His ears were standing straight up and his whole body seemed alert. He looked toward the ceiling as if he could sense the approaching ships through the atmosphere. We should contact Earth Command immediately, Jiho said. Request military support. I already tried, Nari replied sadly. The nearest human fleet is 3 weeks away. We are on our own. As the hours passed, the research team prepared for the worst. They secured all important data and activated the station's emergency protocols. The research station had basic defensive shields, but they were designed to protect against natural disasters, not military attacks. Buddy's behavior became increasingly strange. He would not eat or play like usual. Instead, he followed Hana everywhere, staying so close that he was almost touching her legs. His silver fur seemed darker, and his eyes held an intensity that made Hana feel nervous. "Something is wrong with Buddy," she told Jiho. "He has been acting different ever since Nari announced the Valish ships." Jiho looked at the small creature suspiciously. Maybe he senses danger. Animals sometimes have instincts about threats that humans cannot detect. But Hana knew it was more than animal instinct. Buddy was displaying behaviors that seemed almost military. He would position himself near windows and doors, always watching the approaches to the station. Sometimes she caught him staring at the sky with an expression that looked like he was calculating something. 3 hours before the Valish ships were scheduled to arrive, Jiho made a decision that would reveal the truth about everything. "I am accessing the classified military database," he announced, sitting down at the secure communication terminal. "This situation is serious enough to justify emergency protocols." "Are you sure?" Nari asked. "Using emergency codes without proper authorization could get us in serious trouble." "Being dead would be worse trouble," Jiho replied grimly. He entered a series of complex codes and passwords. The terminal screen flickered and then displayed a message. "Emergency military database. Access granted. All classified files unlocked for duration of crisis." Jiho began searching through files looking for any information about Valish military tactics or human defense strategies. What he found instead made his blood run cold. "Hana," he called quietly. "You need to see this." She walked over to the terminal and read the file displayed on the screen. The header read, "Project Sentinel Classified Biodefense Initiative." The file contained detailed information about a top-secret program designed to protect human colonies in hostile territory. Scientists and military engineers had created artificial life forms that looked like harmless animals, but possessed incredible combat abilities. These bioweapons were designed to bond with human handlers and protect them from any threat. "According to this," Jiho said slowly, "Project Sentinel units were deployed to all frontier colonies 6 months ago. They were designed to appear as local wildlife and remain dormant until activated by threats." Hana felt the world spinning around her. "Are you saying that Buddy is a living weapon?" Jiho finished. "The most advanced bioweapon humanity has ever created." They both turned to look at Buddy, who was sitting calmly nearby. As if he sensed their attention, the creature looked up at them with his large, intelligent eyes. For the first time, Hana noticed that his eyes held knowledge that no normal animal should possess. "The file says they have enhanced intelligence, adaptive combat algorithms, and perfect loyalty to their bonded humans," Jiho read aloud. "They can analyze threats, plan attacks, and execute missions with supernatural precision." "But he is so gentle," Hana whispered. "He has never hurt anyone." "Because there has been no threat to you," Jiho replied. "But now there is." As if responding to their conversation, Buddy stood up and walked to the window facing the sky. His posture was different now, straighter, more alert, like a soldier preparing for battle. The transformation was subtle but unmistakable. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the research station. Nari ran to her communication equipment and began frantically checking readings. "The Valish ships are entering orbit," she announced. "They are launching assault shuttles. Estimated arrival time, 45 minutes. Buddy's reaction was immediate and dramatic. His silver fur began darkening to a deep charcoal color. His muscles seemed to become more defined, and his movements took on a fluid, predatory grace. Most remarkably, his friendly, pet-like demeanor completely disappeared. The creature that Hana had rescued and cared for was gone. In his place stood something that radiated lethal competence. Buddy, or rather Project Sentinel Unit Designate Unknown, had finally activated his true programming. "How many soldiers are coming?" Hana asked, trying to process what she was witnessing. 50, Nari replied, checking her scanners. "Elite Valish warriors in full combat armor." Buddy moved to the center of the room and seemed to be analyzing everything around him. His head turned systematically, as if he was mapping the entire research station and calculating defensive positions. Then he looked directly at Hana and made a sound she had never heard before, a low, harmonic tone that seemed to convey complex information. "I think he is trying to communicate tactical information," Jiho said in amazement. "The file mentions that Sentinel units can interface with human partners during combat operations." Hana knelt down in front of Buddy and looked into his transformed eyes. The gentleness was still there, buried beneath layers of military programming, but it was definitely still there. "I know you want to protect us," she said softly, "but please be careful. I do not want you to get hurt." Buddy tilted his head and made another complex sound. Then he did something that surprised everyone. He gently touched his nose to Hana's hand, just like he used to do when he was pretending to be a simple pet. The gesture said clearly that their bond had not changed, even though everything else had. 20 minutes later, the first Valish assault shuttle landed near the research station. Through the security monitors, they could see reptilian soldiers in heavy armor unloading equipment and weapons. The soldiers were large, professional, and obviously experienced in combat operations. Commander Zeth Vorak stepped out of the lead shuttle and surveyed the human research station with cold, calculating eyes. He was a veteran of many campaigns against younger races, and he expected this mission to be simple and quick. "Surround the facility," he ordered his soldiers. "Take the humans alive for questioning, then destroy all evidence of their weapon research." But Vorak had made a crucial mistake. He assumed he was facing helpless civilian scientists. He had no idea that one of humanity's most advanced guardians was waiting inside the research station, fully activated and ready to defend his bonded human at any cost. Buddy moved to the window and watched the Valish soldiers taking positions around the building. His enhanced senses analyzed their equipment, their formation, and their tactical approach. Within seconds, he had developed a comprehensive battle plan. The small creature that Hana had found injured and helpless in a crystal cave was gone forever. In his place stood an apex predator designed to hunt the hunters, a living weapon that represented humanity's answer to a hostile galaxy. As the Valish soldiers prepared to breach the research station, they had no idea they were about to face something that would challenge everything they thought they knew about human capabilities. The age of underestimating humanity was about to end, and Buddy, Project Sentinel, was ready to teach the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. Commander Vorak checked his chronometer and smiled coldly. In his experience, human settlements fell within the first hour of assault. This mission would be completed well ahead of schedule. He could not have been more wrong. Commander Zeth Vorak stood outside the human research station, confident that his mission would be completed quickly. His 50 elite warriors had surrounded the building and were preparing to breach the walls. In his experience, human civilians surrendered within minutes when faced with superior Valish military force. "Begin the assault," he ordered through his communication device. "Take the researchers alive. Kill anyone who resists." Inside the research station, Hana watched the security monitors with growing fear. The Valish soldiers looked enormous in their black armor, and their weapons seemed designed for maximum destruction. She had never felt so helpless in her life, but Buddy was completely calm. The small creature sat perfectly still in the center of the laboratory, his dark fur almost black now, his eyes focused on something only he could see. Hana realized he was listening to sounds that human ears could not detect, analyzing the enemy positions with supernatural precision. "They are cutting through the outer door," Park Jiho reported, watching his security scanner. 30 seconds, until they breached the perimeter. Kim Nari was frantically trying to contact Earth Command, but the Valish ships were jamming all communication signals. They were truly alone against an enemy force that outnumbered them 50-1. Suddenly, Buddy moved. He flowed across the laboratory floor like liquid shadow and disappeared into an air ventilation grate that seemed too small for any animal to enter. One moment he was there, the next moment he was gone. "Where did he go?" Hana asked in panic. "The ventilation system," Jiho replied, checking his building schematics. "It connects to every room in the station." The first Valish soldiers entered the research station through the main entrance. They moved in perfect formation, their weapons ready, their reptilian eyes scanning for threats. Squad leader Voss took point, his heavy plasma rifle charged and ready to fire. Search every room, Voss ordered his team. Find the humans and secure all research data. The soldiers spread out through the station corridors, confident and professional. They had performed this type of operation hundreds of times before. Human civilian facilities were always easy targets. But something was wrong. The building felt too quiet, too empty. Voss had expected to hear humans running or hiding or calling for help. Instead, there was only silence. Team 3, report your position. Voss spoke into his communicator. Static answered him. Team 3, respond immediately. More static. Team 3 had gone silent. 5 experienced Valish warriors had simply stopped communicating, high above the soldiers, moving through ventilation shafts and maintenance tunnels. Buddy had begun his hunt. His enhanced senses tracked every enemy soldier in the building. His tactical algorithms calculated optimal attack sequences. His bioengineered body moved through spaces that should have been impossible for any creature his size. The first Valish soldier died without making a sound. Private Kex was checking a storage room when something struck him from above. His nervous system shut down instantly as precise pressure was applied to specific nerve clusters. He collapsed unconscious, his weapon clattering to the floor. But Buddy was already gone, flowing through the shadows toward his next target. In the main laboratory, Hannah and her team listened to the sounds of the search above their heads. Occasionally, they heard a thud or a brief scuffle, followed by silence. The security monitors showed Valish soldiers moving through the building, but their numbers seemed to be decreasing. What is happening up there? Nari whispered. Buddy is hunting. Hannah replied quietly. The words felt strange in her mouth, but she knew they were true. Squad leader Voss was beginning to feel genuinely worried. He had lost contact with 8 of his soldiers, and none of the remaining teams could find any trace of the missing warriors. It was as if they had simply vanished. Something is wrong, he reported to Commander Vorak. We are taking casualties, but I cannot identify the threat. Casualties from what? Vorak demanded. Human civilians do not have weapons capable of threatening trained soldiers. I do not know, sir. My warriors are disappearing one by one. No sounds of combat, no distress signals. They are just gone. Vorak felt a chill of unease. In 30 years of military service, he had never encountered anything like this. Fall back to defensive positions, wait for reinforcements. But it was too late. Buddy had studied the Valish communication patterns and tactical formations. He knew exactly how they would respond to casualties, and he was already 3 moves ahead of them. Sergeant Thox was guarding a corridor intersection when the lights suddenly went out. Emergency lighting cast strange shadows on the walls, and the familiar sounds of the building seemed amplified in the darkness. Maintenance, restore. Power to Section 7. Thox spoke into his communicator. The reply came back garbled and filled with static. All communication systems were failing simultaneously. In the darkness, something moved. Thox raised his weapon and activated its tactical light, but the bright beam revealed only empty corridor. Yet he could feel something watching him, something that made his reptilian instincts scream warnings about apex predators. The attack came from a direction that should have been impossible. Thox felt a brief pressure on his neck, and then consciousness faded away. He never saw what hit him. Buddy continued his systematic elimination of the Valish force. Each attack was perfectly calculated. Each strike disabled rather than killed, but left the target completely unconscious. The bioweapon had been programmed with detailed knowledge of Valish anatomy, and he used that knowledge with surgical precision. More importantly, Buddy was conducting psychological warfare. He left subtle signs of his presence: overturned equipment, strange scratch marks on walls, and the lingering sense that something unnatural was hunting the hunters. Commander Vorak watched his assault force disintegrate through his communication device. 23 soldiers had gone silent in less than 30 minutes. The remaining warriors were reporting equipment failures, power outages, and a growing sense of being stalked by something they could not see or identify. What kind of weapons do these humans have? He demanded from his command shuttle. Sir, intelligence reports indicated only basic research equipment, his aide replied nervously. There should be no significant defensive capabilities. Then explain to me how 23 elite warriors have been neutralized by 3 civilian scientists. The aide had no answer. According to all available intelligence, the research station should have fallen within the first 10 minutes of assault. Instead, the Valish force was being systematically destroyed by an enemy they could not even locate. In the research station's main laboratory, Hana watched the security monitors with amazement and horror. The screens showed empty corridors where armed Valish soldiers had been minutes before. Equipment was scattered everywhere, but there were no bodies, no signs of violence, just empty spaces where enemies used to be. "How is he doing this?" she whispered. Park Ji-ho was studying the tactical displays with professional interest. "Look at the pattern," he said. "Buddy is not just attacking randomly. He is isolating individual targets, eliminating communication, networks, and creating psychological pressure. This is advanced military strategy. But he is just one small animal against 50 trained soldiers," Nari said in disbelief. "Not just any animal," Ji-ho corrected. "A bioweapon designed specifically for this type of operation. Look at these readings. He is using the building's infrastructure against them. Ventilation systems, power conduits, maintenance tunnels. He knows this building better than we do." On the security monitors, they could see the remaining Valish soldiers grouping together in defensive formations. They had stopped searching and were now simply trying to survive until reinforcements arrived. But reinforcements were still hours away, and Buddy was just getting started. The creature that had once seemed like a gentle pet was now demonstrating capabilities that redefined what Hana thought was possible. Every movement was perfectly calculated. Every attack was executed with flawless precision. This was not just hunting, this was artistry. Commander Vorak made a desperate decision. He would take direct action to salvage his mission and his reputation. The human scientists were the key to understanding what was happening. If he could capture them, he could force whatever was hunting his soldiers to reveal itself. "Prepare a direct assault on the main laboratory," he ordered. "I will lead it personally." But Buddy was already aware of Vorak's plan. The bioweapon's enhanced hearing had detected the commander's radio communications. His tactical algorithms were already calculating responses to the new threat. The apex predator that Hana had named Buddy was about to face his most dangerous challenge yet. Commander Vorak was not just another soldier to be quietly eliminated. He was a veteran warrior who had survived dozens of battles against younger races. As Vorak and his remaining soldiers prepared for their final assault, they had no idea they were about to confront something that represented humanity's evolutionary answer to a hostile galaxy. The age of underestimating human ingenuity was coming to an end, one silent takedown at a time. The hunt was far from over. Commander Zeth Vorak had lost 37 of his 50 elite warriors to an enemy he could not see, understand, or fight. His pride and his military reputation were being destroyed by what appeared to be a single opponent operating from the shadows of a small research station. Standing in the main corridor with his 12 remaining soldiers, Vorak made a decision that would prove to be the worst mistake of his military career. "We take the human scientists alive," he announced to his troops. "Whatever is hunting us wants to protect them. When we have hostages, this phantom enemy will be forced to reveal itself." His remaining soldiers moved toward the main laboratory, where their scanners showed 3 human life signs. They no longer moved with the confidence of elite warriors. Instead, they huddled together like frightened animals, their weapons pointing in all directions as they expected attack from anywhere. Inside the laboratory, Hana watched the approaching soldiers on her security monitors. She felt a strange mixture of fear and sadness. Fear for herself and her team, but sadness for the Valish soldiers who had no idea what they were truly facing. "They are coming here," Kim Nari whispered, backing away from the laboratory entrance. Park Ji-ho activated the emergency lockdown, sealing the heavy blast doors that protected the main laboratory, but they all knew the doors would not hold against military-grade weapons for very long. "Where is Buddy?" Hana asked, scanning the room for any sign of her protector. As if summoned by her voice, a ventilation grate near the ceiling opened silently. Buddy dropped down into the laboratory with fluid grace, landing without making any sound. But this was no longer the gentle creature that had once slept peacefully beside her bed. Buddy's transformation was now complete. His fur had darkened to deep charcoal, and his muscles were clearly defined beneath his coat. His eyes held an intelligence that was both alien and terrifyingly focused. Most disturbing of all, he radiated an aura of controlled violence that made the air itself seem dangerous. But when he looked at Hana, some of the gentleness returned to his expression. He approached her and made a soft sound that seemed to say, "I am here. You are safe." Outside the laboratory, Vorak's soldiers were setting up plasma cutting tools to breach the sealed doors. The heavy blast barriers would not stop them, but the cutting process would take several minutes. Those minutes were exactly what Buddy needed. The bioweapon moved to a wall panel and did something that amazed everyone in the room. Using his claws with impossible precision, he began manipulating the building's electronic systems. Lights flickered, ventilation fans changed speed, and various pieces of equipment activated and deactivated in complex patterns. "He is communicating," Jiho said in wonder. "He is using the building's systems to send a signal." "A signal to who?" Nari asked. Jiho checked his scanner readings and went pale. "To other units like him. He is calling for backup." The signal that Buddy transmitted was encoded in frequencies that human technology could barely detect. It traveled through the planet's atmosphere and into space, where it was received by quantum communication arrays hidden throughout human territory. The message was simple but urgent. "Sentinel unit requests immediate assistance. Primary bonded human in extreme danger. Authorization code, Guardian Protocol Omega." Far across the galaxy, 3 other Project Sentinel units received the distress call simultaneously. Each was stationed on different human colonies, each bonded to their own human partners. But the Guardian Protocol override meant that all other missions were now secondary to protecting Hana and her team. Within minutes, a human stealth ship carrying the 3 additional bioweapons changed course for Kepler 442b. The ship was small, fast, and completely invisible to Valish sensors. More importantly, it was only 2 hours away. But 2 hours might as well have been 2 days. The blast doors were already showing stress fractures from the plasma cutters, and Vorak's remaining soldiers would breach the laboratory very soon. Buddy positioned himself between Hana and the weakening door. His posture was that of a guardian, preparing for a final stand. If the Valish wanted to reach his bonded human, they would have to go through him first. The blast doors finally gave way with a shower of sparks and molten metal. Vorak stepped through the breach with his soldiers. Behind him, their weapons trained on the 3 human scientists. "Surrender immediately," he commanded. "You are now prisoners of the Valish Empire." For a moment, nobody moved. Then Vorak saw Buddy standing between him and the humans, and his reptilian eyes widened with surprise. "What is that creature?" he demanded. "That is our guardian," Hana said quietly. "And you just made a very big mistake." Vorak laughed harshly. "One small animal against 12 armed soldiers? Your guardian is about to become a decoration on my command ship." He raised his plasma rifle and aimed it directly at Buddy. "Move away from the humans or I will kill you slowly." Buddy did not move. Instead, he did something that changed the entire dynamic of the confrontation. He made a sound that was unlike anything he had ever produced before, a low harmonic howl that seemed to resonate through the building's structure. The sound conveyed a message that transcended species and language. It said clearly and unmistakably, "You have threatened my family. Now you face the consequences." Vorak felt his warrior instincts screaming warnings about apex predators and overwhelming danger, but his pride and desperation overcame his caution. He pulled the trigger. What happened next redefined Buddy's capabilities in ways that terrified even Hana. The plasma bolt should have vaporized the small creature instantly. Instead, Buddy moved in a way that seemed to bend the laws of physics. He flowed around the energy beam like liquid mercury, his movements too fast and fluid for normal vision to track. Before Vorak could fire a second shot, Buddy had covered the distance between them. But instead of attacking the commander directly, the bioweapon did something far more psychologically devastating. He began eliminating Vorak's soldiers one by one, while the commander watched helplessly. Each attack was a masterpiece of precision violence. Buddy would appear beside a soldier, strike with surgical accuracy to disable rather than kill, and then vanish before anyone could react. Within 30 seconds, 11 elite Valish warriors lay unconscious on the laboratory floor. Only Vorak remained standing, his weapon trembling in his scaled hands. "What are you?" Vorak whispered, staring at the small creature that had just destroyed his entire assault force. Buddy sat calmly in front of Hana, his dark fur beginning to lighten back to its normal silver color. He looked like nothing more than a gentle pet, but Vorak now understood that appearances could be fatally deceiving. "He is humanity's answer to bullies like you," Hana said, placing her hand gently on Buddy's head. "He is what happens when a peaceful species is forced to defend itself." Vorak's communication device crackled to life. "Commander, this is the fleet. We are detecting massive energy signatures approaching the planet. Unknown ships moving at impossible speeds." Through the laboratory windows, they could see streaks of light descending through Kepler 442b's purple atmosphere. 3 objects were falling toward the planet like silver meteors, their approach trajectories aimed directly at the research station. "Reinforcements," Jiho said grimly. Buddy called for help. The incoming objects were not ships in any conventional sense. They were deployment pods designed to deliver Project Sentinel units to combat zones with maximum speed and stealth. Each pod contained one bioweapon similar to Buddy, along with basic tactical equipment. Vorak realized that his mission had gone from bad to catastrophic. Not only had he failed to capture the human scientists, but he was about to face multiple enemies like the creature that had just destroyed his assault force. "My fleet will destroy this entire planet rather than let these weapons escape," he threatened desperately. Buddy made a soft sound and tilted his head, almost as if he was amused by the threat. Then he did something that made everyone in the room freeze with shock. He spoke. The voice was artificial, created by manipulating his vocal cords in ways that no natural animal could achieve. The words were in perfect galactic standard, the common language used by all spacefaring species. "Your fleet will not fire on this planet," Buddy said calmly. "Your empire values you too highly to risk your life with orbital bombardment. You are the son of High Admiral Zek Vorak, and your father will not sacrifice you to maintain his reputation." Vorak staggered backward as if he had been physically struck. "How could you possibly know that?" "We know everything about our enemies," Buddy replied. "Your psychological profile, your family connections, your military record, your personal fears. We have been watching the Valish Empire since the day humans entered this galaxy." The 3 deployment pods struck the ground outside the research station with tremendous force, creating small craters in the purple grassland. The pods opened with hissing sounds, and 3 more Project Sentinel units emerged. Each new arrival looked slightly different from Buddy. One had darker fur and was slightly larger. Another had distinctive markings around its eyes. The third seemed shimmer as if its fur could change color. But all of them moved with the same fluid, predatory grace that marked them as apex hunters. They entered the research station and took positions around the labor. 6 months had passed since the Valish attack on Kepler 442b. The galaxy had become a very different place, though most of its inhabitants did not yet understand how much had changed. Dr. Lee Hana sat in her expanded laboratory, reviewing research data from 12 different human colonies. Her work had taken on new importance since the incident with Commander Vorak. Earth Command wanted to understand how the bond between humans and Project Sentinel units could be strengthened and refined. Buddy lay peacefully beside her workstation, looking exactly like the gentle pet she had first rescued from the crystal caves. His silver fur gleamed in the laboratory lights, and his large eyes watched her work with the same intelligent interest he had always shown. But now Hana knew the incredible capabilities hidden beneath that innocent appearance. The other 3 Sentinel units had returned to their assigned colonies, after ensuring that Kepler 442b was secure. But their brief presence had changed everything. Hana now understood that Buddy was not unique. He was part of a network of guardians that protected humanity across the galaxy. "Dr. Hana," Kim Nari called from her communication station. "I am receiving a priority message from Earth Command." Hana walked over to read the message. It contained updates from colonies throughout human space, and the pattern was remarkable. Every human settlement that had been threatened by hostile alien forces in the past 6 months had successfully defended itself. Pirates, raiders, and aggressive alien military units had all been defeated by defenders that seemed to appear from nowhere and vanish just as quickly. But the most interesting part of the report was what happened after these encounters. Word was spreading through the galaxy's underworld that human colonies were no longer easy targets. Trade negotiations with alien species had become more respectful. Even the aggressive Valish Empire had begun treating human diplomats with cautious courtesy. "It is working," Park Ji-ho said, reading over her shoulder. "The galaxy is learning to respect humanity." "Not just respect," Hana corrected. "They are learning to fear us. I am not sure that is better." Buddy made a soft sound and approached her. Even without words, she could sense what he was trying to communicate. Fear was not the goal. Protection was. The Sentinel units existed to ensure that humans could explore and expand safely, not to terrorize other species. Dr. Ji-ho had spent months studying the other Project Sentinel units during their brief stay on Kepler 442b. His research had revealed capabilities that went far beyond what even the classified files had indicated. "Look at these readings," he said, showing Hana his data. "The Sentinels are not just individual weapons. They form a collective intelligence network. When they work together, their tactical abilities increase exponentially." "What does that mean for the future?" Nari asked. "It means that humanity is evolving," Ji-ho replied. "Not just biologically, but strategically. We are becoming a species that cannot be threatened or intimidated by anyone." A soft chime indicated an incoming transmission. Hana activated the communication system and saw the face of Admiral Sarah Chen, the commanding officer of Earth's Strategic Defense Initiative. "Dr. Hana," the Admiral said formally, "I am calling to inform you that your research has been elevated to the highest priority level. We need you to continue studying the human-sentinel bond and develop ways to enhance the partnership." "What kind of enhancements?" Hana asked. "We are planning to expand the Sentinel program to civilian populations," Admiral Chen explained. "Every human family that volunteers for frontier colonization will be assigned a guardian unit. Your research will help us ensure that these bonds are as strong as possible." Hana felt a chill of concern. "Are you turning the Sentinels into pets?" "For civilian families? Not pets," the Admiral corrected. "Partners, protectors, members of the family who happen to be capable of defending that family against any threat in the galaxy." After the transmission ended, Hana sat quietly for a long time, thinking about the implications. The galaxy was about to see an entirely new type of human expansion. Not just scientists and soldiers and traders, but families protected by guardians that most alien species could not even imagine. "What do you think about this?" she asked Buddy. The Sentinel unit looked up at her with those large, intelligent eyes. Then he did something he had never done before. He projected a series of images directly into her mind, not through technology, but through some form of bioneural connection that the classified files had never mentioned. Hana saw human children playing safely on alien worlds, while silver-furred guardians watched from the shadows. She saw human families exploring new planets, with confidence knowing that their protectors could handle any danger. She saw a galaxy where humanity expanded not through conquest or aggression, but through careful exploration backed by unbreakable guardian bonds. But she also saw something else. Alien species that began developing their own guardian programs, trying to match humanity's new advantages. The arms race that would follow could reshape the entire galaxy in ways no one could predict. "You are worried about unintended consequences," she said to Buddy. "So am I." Meanwhile, in the capital city of the Valish Empire, Former Commander Zeth Vorak sat in a small apartment writing his memoirs. His military career had ended in disgrace after the failed assault on Kepler 442b, but he had survived to tell the story. His official reports about the encounter had been classified and buried by Valish military intelligence. The Empire did not want other species to know that their elite forces had been defeated by what appeared to be small animals. But Vorak knew the truth, and he wrote it down in careful detail. "The humans have created something unprecedented," he wrote. "Not just weapons, but true partnerships between species. The creature that destroyed my assault force was not following programming. It was protecting something it genuinely cared about. That makes it far more dangerous than any conventional weapon." He paused in his writing and looked out the window at the bustling Valish city below. Somewhere in that crowd of reptilian citizens, intelligence officers were already working on secret projects to develop Valish equivalents of the Project Sentinel units. But Vorak doubted they would succeed. The humans did not just engineer better weapons, he continued writing. They engineered better relationships. That is why they will ultimately dominate this galaxy. Back on Kepler 442b, Hannah had made a decision about her future research. Instead of focusing on enhancing the Sentinel unit's combat capabilities, she would study the emotional and psychological bonds that made the partnership so strong. "I want to understand what makes you choose to protect us," she told Buddy. "Not the programming, not the military directives, but the real reason you care about human welfare." Buddy tilted his head and made that complex harmonic sound that indicated deep thought. Then he placed his paw gently on her hand and projected another image into her mind. This time she saw herself on that first day in the crystal caves, kneeling beside an injured creature and choosing to help rather than follow protocol. She felt the emotions that Buddy had experienced in that moment: confusion, pain, fear, and then overwhelming gratitude when she chose kindness over caution. "You protect us because we showed you kindness first," she whispered. "The bond is not based on programming. It is based on genuine emotional connection." That realization would reshape everything. Hannah's research would eventually prove that the most effective guardian relationships were not created through military training or bioengineering, but through simple acts of compassion and mutual care. As news of her findings spread throughout human space, the Sentinel program evolved in directions that no one had anticipated. Instead of focusing on creating more powerful weapons, humanity began developing more empathetic guardians. The bioweapons became true partners, capable of forming emotional bonds that transcended species boundaries. The galaxy watched in amazement as humanity expanded through cooperation rather than conquest. Human colonies became safe havens where different species could meet and trade without fear. The Sentinel Guardians ensured security, while the human settlers provided openness and innovation. A year after the Valish attack, Hannah received a message that made her smile. It was from a human family on the frontier world of New Geneva. They had been assigned a Sentinel Guardian unit and wanted to thank her for the research that had made their partnership possible. "Our Guardian's name is Hope," the message read. "She has been with us for 6 months now, and she has become as much a part of our family as our own children. When our daughter was sick with alien fever, Hope stayed by her bedside for 3 days straight. When raiders threatened our settlement, Hope and the other Guardians ended the threat so quickly that our children never even knew they were in danger." The message continued. "But what amazes us most is how Hope seems to understand our emotions and our needs. She comforts us when we are sad, celebrates with us when we are happy, and always seems to know exactly what we need. She is not just our protector, she is our friend." Hannah showed the message to Buddy, who made his pleased sound and seemed to smile. She realized that this was what he had always wanted, not to be a weapon, but to be a valued member of a family that cared about him as much as he cared about them. As the years passed, the galaxy continued to change. Other species developed their own guardian programs, but none were as successful as humanity's Sentinels. The key difference was not in the bioengineering or the tactical programming, but in the foundation of emotional connection that made the partnerships genuine rather than merely functional. Eventually, historians would mark the deployment of Project Sentinel as the moment when humanity truly found its place in the galaxy, not as conquerors or victims, but as a species capable of forming partnerships that transcended biological boundaries and created new forms of family. The apex hunter that Dr. Lee Hanna had named Buddy became the prototype for a new kind of relationship between species. Their bond proved that the strongest defenses were not built from armor or weapons, but from loyalty, trust, and genuine affection. In the end, the silent protectors did more than just guard human colonies. They guarded the very idea that different species could work together, care for each other, and create something better than either could achieve alone. The galaxy had learned to respect humanity, not because humans were the strongest or the smartest, but because they had proven that kindness and partnership could be more powerful than any weapon ever created. And in a small research station on Kepler 442b, a brilliant scientist and her silver-furred guardian continued their work together, exploring new worlds and new possibilities, knowing that their bond represented the future of interspecies cooperation. In a galaxy that was finally learning the value of friendship over fear,